It was a quiet, overcast Saturday morning when Mia decided to take a walk in the woods behind her grandmother's farmhouse. She'd been visiting for the weekend, a small escape from the noise and stress of the city. The woods were her sanctuary. Tall pines, chirping birds, the earthy smell of fallen leaves. She'd walked the same path dozens of times since she was a child. It was familiar, safe, at least it used to be. That morning she left with her headphones in, her jacket zipped up against the October chill, and promised she'd be back before lunch. She never returned. When an hour passed, her grandmother didn't panic, but when the sun began to dip low and the woods grew silent, she called Mia's parents, and then the police. A search party was organized that evening. Locals brought flashlights and walked shoulder to shoulder, combing through the trees, calling her name. They found nothing. Nothing until the next morning. About 2 miles down the path, they found her phone lying face down in the dirt, still recording a voice memo. The audio was strange. For the first few minutes, it was just the sound of her walking, breathing, the occasional rustle of leaves. But then there was a shift. The wind picked up. There was a faint whisper, so soft it was almost inaudible. A voice. It whispered her name, Mia. And then, silence. A full minute of complete, staticless silence before the recording cut off on its own. No signs of a struggle, no blood, no torn clothing or disturbed branches. It was like she had simply stepped out of existence. A week passed. Then, without explanation, her favorite sneakers appeared on the front doorstep of the farmhouse, placed side by side, clean, dry, with the laces tied neatly in bows. There were no footprints leading to or away from them. It hadn't rained in days, but the grass was damp where they had been placed. Her grandmother moved out shortly after. But the sightings began not long after she left. Neighbors, some who didn't even know the story, began reporting a strange figure seen standing at the edge of the woods late at night. A young woman, always barefoot. Her clothes were too clean, her posture too still. When anyone tried to approach, she vanished behind the trees. One man claimed he saw her from his kitchen window. She was standing in the exact spot where the farmhouse porch light used to shine. When he blinked, she was gone, but the porch light flickered twice, even though the house had no power. A local teenager who ventured into the woods on a dare returned pale and shaking. He said he found a tree with a carving in it, still here. Beneath it, a perfect handprint burned into the bark like a brand. The town doesn't speak of Mia anymore, not loudly, but they all know. The woods are quieter now. The birds don't chirp as often. The air feels heavier. And every October on the same Saturday morning she vanished. The wind picks up and carries a whisper through the trees. Mia. Everyone at Ridgewell High knew to avoid room 3B. It wasn't officially condemned, but it hadn't been used in over 20 years. The windows were painted black, the door always locked. Students whispered about Mr. Halbrook, a teacher who allegedly hung himself from the projector cord in the 90s. Some said a prank pushed him over the edge. Others believed he never really left. Janitors refused to clean it. Substitutes weren't assigned there. Ask the principal and she'd mutter it was under maintenance. But it wasn't. It was forgotten or buried. One rainy October afternoon, Mark and his friends, Travis, Eli, and Jamie, decided to sneak in. Jamie dared Mark to film a TikTok inside the room. If we catch something creepy, it'll go viral, she said. The plan was simple. Sneak in after hours, break into room 3B, film for 10 minutes. Easy views. They waited until the halls emptied. Jamie picked the lock with a hairpin. When the door creaked open, it groaned, like something exhaling after years of silence. Inside was ice cold. Dust swirled in their flashlight beams. The classroom was untouched, desks overturned, a chalkboard smeared with ancient scribbles. A moldy projector sat dead center. Everything felt paused, like time had stopped the day Mr. Halbrook died. Travis joked loudly, but his voice echoed strangely, like the room was too big. Mark started filming. His phone battery, at 80%, suddenly dropped to 15%. The flashlight died. They turned on other lights only to see their breath in the air. The heating in the school worked fine. Then the chalkboard began to squeak, slowly. Letters formed. I never left. Eli bolted, but the door slammed shut before he could reach it. Jamie screamed. Mark froze, still filming. Then came the scratching. Under the desks. First one, then more. Dozens. Pale, bony hands reached out, clawing upward, as if the floor had opened. Travis scrambled to the lights. They flickered dimly. Only a figure stood in the far corner. A man, in a suit, hanging just above the floor, suspended by a cord vanishing into the ceiling. He turned slowly, eyes wide, blood crusted down his neck, and he was smiling. Then, all went dark. When police arrived, the door was locked from the inside. Eli and Jamie were in the hallway, incoherent, mumbling about the projector man. Travis was inside, unconscious and foaming at the mouth. He was hospitalized and never spoke again. Mark was never found. All they recovered was his phone, upright on a desk, still recording. The last frame showed a silhouette in the doorway of room 3B, Mark, smiling, not screaming, just waiting. I work in digital restoration, converting old VHS, 8mm, and reel-to-reel footage into modern formats for families and collectors. Usually it's birthdays, graduations, or awkward home movies. Harmless nostalgia. But about a month ago, a box showed up at my studio's front steps. No postage, no return address. Just a black shoebox with "For You" scrawled in faded Sharpie across the lid. Inside were 7 VHS tapes. No labels, only small Roman numerals written in silver marker. I assumed it was some artsy project, maybe indie horror. The first 6 tapes were strange, but not outright disturbing. They showed shaky handheld footage, woods, dim basements, sometimes a glimpse of a pale man's terrified face. The audio was mostly static and heavy breathing, but something about it felt watched, as if the camera wasn't alone. Then came tape 7. It began like the others, grainy footage, dusk in a forest. But this time, the camera holder was panicked, breathing fast, running. The camcorder shook violently, twigs snapped, branches cracked, and something behind him followed. Not quite footsteps, more like dragging. Then a whisper, "I can hear it behind me." He turned the camera, and the screen glitched into static. When the picture returned, he was crouched under a fallen tree. His eyes darted across the woods. Behind him, something moved. The image flickered, grainy, a tall shape. The camera zoomed slightly, shaky, and in the distance, for just a blink, 2 glowing eyes. Then, black screen. A single word jittered into view through digital distortion. Run. I paused. The room felt cold, too cold. I turned toward the glass door of my studio, and someone was standing outside, just for a moment. When I blinked, they were gone. No shadow, no trace. I checked the lock twice, didn't sleep. At 3:07 a.m., my phone rang from a number listed as 0000. No caller ID. I didn't answer, no voicemail either, yet the icon blinked. I pressed play. 12 seconds of static. Then, my voice, whispering. I can hear it behind me. I never recorded that, never said it aloud. The next morning, the cabinet where I stored the tapes was open. Tape 7 was gone. No one else had the key. I checked security footage. Corrupted. From 3:02 to 3:10 a.m., it jumped and distorted. 8 lost minutes. Same as the previous night and the next. It kept happening. A week later, another box appeared. No label, no note. Inside was a single tape, freshly marked, tape 8. I haven't watched it. But most nights now, when the house is still, I hear breathing outside my window, and it sounds just like mine. It was late, well past midnight, when my car sputtered and finally died on a deserted stretch of dirt road. I was hours from the nearest town, surrounded by nothing but dark woods and an oppressive silence. My phone showed no signal, no bars. I cursed myself for not topping off the tank earlier, but it was too late now. I popped the hood hoping to find something obvious. Maybe a loose wire or a broken belt. The engine was cold and still. Nothing looked out of place, but I knew I couldn't fix it on my own. Grabbing my flashlight, I decided to walk toward the last faint glow of civilization I'd seen before turning off the main road. The air was unnervingly still, no breeze, no insects, just the crunch of dry leaves and gravel beneath my boots. As I moved deeper along the road, the glow took shape. A small, dilapidated house with peeling paint and cracked windows. Only one room glowed faintly, its light flickering like a dying candle in the living room. I called out softly, "Hello?" No answer, just the eerie creak of the wooden porch beneath my feet. I knocked, and the door slowly swung open with a long, groaning sound. Inside, the air was freezing cold, despite the faint glow. No furniture save for an old rocking chair that swayed gently, as if recently touched. I stepped inside, heart pounding. Suddenly, a whisper brushed past my ear, unintelligible, chilling. I spun around. No one. A shadow flickered across the far wall, far too large and distorted to be human. I felt a cold, clammy hand wrap around my wrist. I yanked free and bolted outside, breath rag in my chest. Back at my car, something caught my eye. Tire tracks, deep and recent, veering off the dirt road into the woods. They weren't mine. Someone had been here, watching. My flashlight began to flicker. I checked the batteries, full. Then I heard it, footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate, matching my every move. I didn't dare turn around. Panic rose in my throat as I dove into the driver's seat and turned the key. Nothing. Then through the windshield I saw it, a tall, thin figure standing just at the edge of the trees, its face swallowed in shadow, unmoving, watching. I locked the doors, sat frozen, breath fogging the glass. The figure stood silently until the first pale light of dawn touched the treetops. Then it simply vanished into the woods without a sound. When morning finally came, I managed to get the car started and drove off without looking back. But just as I picked up speed, a small, crumpled note fluttered beneath my windshield wiper. Scrawled in shaky handwriting were two words: "Don't leave." We moved into the house when my daughter Lily was 5. It was an old place, but charming. Wood floors, creaky stairs, a big backyard. She loved it instantly. I wasn't so sure. From the moment we arrived, I noticed something off about the hallway outside her bedroom. A cold spot. It wasn't just a draft. I had the insulation checked, HVAC serviced. Nothing explained how that one section, about 3 feet wide, always felt like the inside of a freezer, day or night, summer or winter. I'd carry laundry down the hall and feel it like a wall, an invisible freeze. Lily noticed it too. She tiptoed past the hallway, holding her breath. "Why is it so cold here, Daddy?" she asked once. "I don't know," I said. "Just the house settling." But it wasn't. One night I passed her door around 1 a.m. and heard whispering. I thought she was talking in her sleep. I cracked the door open. She was sitting upright in bed, staring at the open closet. "Who are you talking to?" I whispered. She turned slowly. The man in the hallway. My heart dropped. "There's no one there, sweetie." "He comes when it's cold," she whispered. "He says he used to live here." I didn't sleep that night. The next day I installed a camera in the hallway. Nothing for a week. Then one night, it recorded motion at 2:53 a.m. I watched the footage alone. At first, just empty hallway. Then, static flickered across the screen. A shape emerged, tall, motionless, facing Lily's door. It stood for 20 seconds, then turned slowly to the camera. Its eyes glowed faintly. Its mouth moved, but there was no sound. Then the screen went black. I pulled Lily from school the next day and we stayed in a hotel. I contacted the previous owner. She hesitated, then confessed. Her husband had died in that house, in the hallway. A heart attack. He'd collapsed right outside what was now Lily's room. She said strange things started happening afterward. Cold spots, whispers, flickering lights. They sold the house within a year. I wanted to move immediately, but Lily started crying at night in the hotel, begging to go home. She said the man was visiting her dreams now. He missed his house. Against my better judgment, we went back one last time to pack. The cold was worse, the lights flickered. I told Lily to stay in the car. In the hallway, the air turned frigid. My breath showed in the air. As I bent to pick up a box, I heard it, a whisper, right behind me. "Don't take her." I froze. Then a knock, 3 slow taps, on the wall beside me. I left the box, grabbed Lily. We never returned. Now, in our new apartment, she's doing better. Sleeping more, smiling again. But last night she woke me at 2:53 a.m. and whispered, "Daddy, he found us." And across the room by the bedroom door, the air felt suddenly cold.